I really got to get my stream going to YouTube just for the watch hours. Even if like one person watches for like an hour, that helps. Okay, let's see. Edit, 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 edit. Okay, manage it. There we go. Bear with me here. Nope, that's not it. Do you not have a WorldEight? You do not have a YouTube account
No.
or like a?
I mean, I
Okay.
have an account. I don't put any content out there.
I just can't at you because I don't have it there at the bread and butter. Okay,
Yeah. I don't have. I mean, like, I just have a personal account.
that's fine. Boom.
It's funny because I've set my son up with a content creator account so that he could share his Geometry Dash runs with his friends.
Oh my goodness. How old's your son?
And he's 9. He'll also do like Roblox runs and stuff. I
Ask
just
your
think it's
son
kind of fun to get him set up.
if your son has if he plays that at all with the Geometry Dash. Ask him if he wants to play test levels for my son. Because my son's been trying to build levels, and he was like, "You want to be a playtester?" I'm like, "No, I don't."
Sure. I don't know how that kind of works out, but yeah. Yeah, no, our he's the thing that's pretty cool is like it's so easy to level build now. Like I don't know about your guy, but our guy like he's made hundreds of Mario Maker levels.
Oh yeah.
Of various quality, but some of them are pretty cool.
My son is trying to make demon levels, even though he's never beat a demon on his own.
I think that was one of the really great things they did about Super Mario Maker is that you can't put a level out there unless you beat it yourself.
And that's the same thing. There's rules about that as far as Geometry Dash too. Like in order for it to be like but like I think you can still put them out there, but like you can't like put them on like a ranked area or something like that. There are rules to that. So
Yeah.
Let me see here. I think we're good. I think we're good. Good. All right, cool. Are you guys ready to talk a little Hearthstone?
Sure.
Get the show notes pulled back up. Lower the volume here. And welcome back to Bread and Butter, where we are serving up the basics for Hearthstone improvement. This is episode 168, and as always, I am joined by Pilot. Pilot, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. And as pretty much monthly, we have WorldEight. WorldEight, how are you?
I am good. Good. Always glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
And what have you been doing inside of Hearthstone, my friend?
Inside of Hearthstone, it was a pretty interesting month for me. I was doing really, really well. But much like Icarus, I think I flew too close to the sun. And I was like, oh, I might even get like a point this month, maybe 2 points. Like I was doing really well. I was like, maybe I'll get 2 points. And then I went on one of my worst losing streaks I've ever had. Maybe like 10% win rate or something like that over the course of a week. And I've played enough Hearthstone to know that there's ups and downs, and then like you can hit these streaks. Like I've had a streak like this before, where I went on this terrible losing streak, and then I was able to kind of like come back by the end of the month, and that's what happened here too. And I don't want to like assault mine, on this too much, but the losses, I would just be like, I have to walk away from this after like a game or two because they were just absolutely incredible. But mostly was still playing a bunch of Warlock, um, and then I would dip into Wild too. It's what I always do when I'm frustrated with Standard, because I felt like Standard it's in a really good balanced place, but it's one of those situations where okay, I've seen pretty much all the same decks since expansion launch, which wasn't too long ago, but I'd still like to see a little bit more variety after a little bit of time. So yeah, it's still playing a bunch of Warlock, but it's waiting until this new batch of cards comes out.
How about yourself, Pilot? What have you been up to?
Nothing too much in Hearthstone. Just had a busy enough week, and just didn't play a lot. I had started to kind of stabilize from my free fall the 2 weeks before. Got myself into the mid 2000s, and last day of the month, I'm like, okay, I'll play a few games, kind of see what happens. Won the first three, got myself within like a win streak of 11x, and then lost the next three and said, okay, there's my sign. I'm done for the night. So it is what it is. I finished mid to low 2000s. So which I'll take for how frustrating the last month was. Just a lot of games that Tito and I have talked about. I don't know what I could have done. They're just the Hearthstone gods decide that I was not winning those games when this and that comes out of nowhere. You just can't find something to do with it sometimes. So played just a handful of games to start the climb this month. I think I'm like 4-1 with the Demon Hunter. Played a little bit of Arena right before we started recording. I really liked the deck that I drafted. Elemental Mage in Arena has a lot of stuff and a lot of tools. Is probably, I think, Mage is towards the top of the um, list. I drafted a bunch of really strong cards. I'm 0-2, including the last game, losing to a rogue that had Dragon's Horde, a card that I had forgotten about until it gave them a Magmaw that I could not cleanly deal with. And then an Overlord Drakaru, the Shaman Wind Fury. Whenever it kills something, you summon it. It summons it on their side. And that I had the game until that came down. So I'm 0-2. Reliving last month, and it'll be fine. So yeah.
So my last month, I played a lot of a Chrono Druid, which wasn't good. It was good. It was good enough. I had a lot of fun, but my rank plummeted, and we played some weird stuff, and I was okay with it. I have talked about in the past how I get conflicted between playing the fun decks I want to and trying to make content for those and whatnot versus my ladder anxiety and my nervousness of my rank and trying to get there. And this month, I had no problem. I was like, we're playing this deck. I love this deck. We're having fun. Let's go. And tweaked it a bit and had some good runs with it. I mean, there were times when I rattled off like 8 out of 10 wins and all that, but variance being variance, we plummeted a little bit. And then I played a lot of the Blood Unholy Death Knight with Herald, and that deck is super fun. But I have multiple times said that this month I'm going to try to play a little bit more seriously, and that then becomes what is a good deck? And like obviously we know tier A decks, tier B decks they're good decks. But when I say I'm going to play a good deck, can I get away with playing that Blood and Holy Death Knight? Does that count? Because this is a tier C deck. It's good. It's playable. Does that count? And I'm trying to figure that out right now. But to start this month, I've been playing Unholy Death Knight, triple Unholy Death Knight. And I started off, I was 14-1, posted that on Twitter. And you like this, WorldEight. Someone got back to me and they were like, wait, is this deck good? It's not in the VS report. How can it be good? It's like, if it's not in the report, they're like, wait, I'm so confused. And it's like, yeah, there are plenty of decks that are good with low play rates. And that happens in almost any stage of the meta, like Zarimi Priest. Yeah, hey, it's 53%. No one wants to play it. Same thing with this. This is got a couple new cards. It's got the Chow Down or whatever, but it's yesterday's news. People don't want to play it, but it's still a really solid deck as a tier B deck. So plus I had demolished it, and with a little bit of confidence last week, I said, hey, I do not belong where I belong MMR wise. I have kind of artificially tanked my rank by doing what I'm doing. I'm a better than a 5-digit player, I think, anyway. So I think that also helped me climb pretty easily this month. I'm at D3. It's day 3. Is it May 3rd? May 3rd. We're D3. We've been kind of going through, and I'm also trying to start playing some of the other decks that I need to know for THL. The one deck I haven't started playing was the top tier list on HS Replay this week, which was Murloc Hunter.
With no
you heard me
Murlocs.
right. It was wrong. There was some kind of learning thing in the HS Replay algorithm. I messaged my contact there, and I was like, Murloc Hunter? ? He's like, yeah, we're working on it. We're working on it. So don't be gaslit and think that Murloc Hunter is the thing you need to be playing, because it's not. Whatever.
Good news, it is fixed. It is not showing 300 games of Murloc Hunter with only Rock Skipper being the top deck. Bad news, those lists have now gone into a Magmaw Hunter archetype without running Magmaw, inflating the archetype win rate there.
well, Magma Hunter without Magma probably is a better deck than Magma Hunter with Magma. I mean,
I just love how it's just taking the face hunter decks that aren't running Gen and like not grabbing those correctly.
I had Marithria in one of my lists for the Druid, and it just got classified as Marithria Druid on the HS Guru website. And I messaged Donkey. I'm like, Donkey, that's not my deck. It has the card, but it's not revolving around that. Like, you need to change it. But it's fun. So Pilot, I'm gonna put you on the spot here a little bit. You've said I've been gaslighting you lately. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so anyone who has watched Cheeto's stream has watched me argue with him for the past 2 weeks of him saying something, then saying that he didn't say it, and then acknowledging the fact that he said it and still arguing against me. This is what I've dealt with for the past 2 weeks. And
2 years?
Talking in circles, I'm like, I give up. I feel like I'm at school. I do this 8 hours a day, and then I get on and try to just hang out in a friend stream and do 3 more hours of it. And I'm retiring as a mod. I think that's the final conclusion.
No. We like, it's just basically kind of like I do sometimes, and this is the duality of things, right? I kind of like, I want to like talk, like I'm trying to play a good deck, and I'm trying to like, I have success with something and I'm not, and I do that. And so sometimes we get a little, you get streamer brain when you're doing it. You forget what you say, you forget, you just kind of, you're there to talk. And sometimes you're just spilling out verbal diarrhea, and it doesn't matter. You're just talking. You're talking because that's your job. You talk. And I remember what I said 3 minutes ago. So, I apologize if that's happened, Pilot. But we're working on it, and that's why I'm trying to defend. That's where the idea of what is a good deck, because I don't want to have Pilot come in and saying, I thought you said you were playing good decks, and I'm playing Blood, and Holy Death Knight. Like, is that a good deck? Is that not? So where's the line? We got to figure out where the line is. But my goal is to have a better month. My goal is to just, I don't have a number goal. Obviously, it'll be better than 5 digits, I hope. But no number goal. We're just going to play better. And we're going to learn more decks that we need to for THL. WorldEight, what have you been doing outside of Hearthstone?
Outside of Hearthstone's been pretty busy. The big thing is that I ran a decently sized race today. It was the 10-mile Broad Street run in Philadelphia. A really great race. It is a big run because it has 40,000 people. Yes, 40,000 people running this race. It's a lot of people. But most of the city is out, supporting it. It's a mostly downhill run, but just having people out is a big motivator to keep you going. The weather was great, and yeah, just a really great run. I've been kind of out of shape, so it's one of those things when like I think Pilot had mentioned this January 1st. Why is that like our fitness goal date? It wasn't really mine, but that I signed up for this race about 2 months ago, and I was like, all right, now I have like a hard deadline to get into somewhat shape here. Because even if it's a good run, it's not nothing. So it's been a good motivator to get into shape. And uh, incidentally, my gaming time has diminished a lot because most of my time is like I stay up way too late into the evening. And I was like, all right, like doing these training runs. I'm exhausted. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna actually go to bed, do the responsible thing. So, um, yeah, otherwise, things have been, pretty even keel. I'm taking a little bit of maybe even more distraction from Hearthstone as a new Heroes of Might and Magic game just came out after forever and ever. The game seems really good. The developers have put so much love and care into this game. So I'm excited to play a bit of it. Haven't It only came out like 3-4 days ago, so I haven't put much time into it, but it looks great. So yeah, I mean that's the big thing that I'm probably gonna be doing in my free time if I'm not spinning on up Hearthstone.
I'm pretty sure it was me complaining about the January 1st, but Pilot
Oh
agreeing,
yeah.
because I know that always bothers me. It's like, why? Like, because I live in New England, and it's like, why are we trying to get in shape? Like, hey, January 1st, we're going to the gym. It's a blizzard. Like, I guess we're not. Like, we're not going outside. We're not working out. We're not, whatever. And by the way, round is also a shape. Pilot, what have you been up to?
Um, all Also, it's May, and around here we're not getting outside very much either because it's rained constantly all the time. I did not have to purchase a boat to get to work, but I thought that was getting close some days. I did finally have a day where I was home and it didn't rain, so I could mow the jungle of a yard that I had until it rains again more tonight and tomorrow, and it becomes that again. But outside of that, um, not too much. I've had a lot of longer days at the school just trying to get stuff done before all of the end of year performance chaos hits. I think it was about this time last week, Tito asked me, it's just like, so you're winding down now, right? And I just laughed. I didn't answer, I just laughed. Because at the time, I think we had like 22 days of school left and 7 performances. So one of those performances is checked off. We had our large group contest, our adjudicated event, our state contest this weekend. Band played really well, especially because our district event was canceled because of weather, so we didn't have any feedback that we could take and work on. So going not fully blind, but a little bit blind. A lot of the stuff that we focused on this year were things we got complimented on, which is awesome. We got a top mark in sight reading, which has always been a struggle for this group and it's become one of their strengths. And then we got 2s from all of our judges on our prepared pieces, which would be an excellent rating. So that's what we ended up with. So super proud of the work that they've done. Outside of that, kind of chewing through Final Fantasy VI a little bit more here and there. I'm like a week and a half behind where Squelch is, but I think I'm playing a little bit quicker than what they are. So I should be able to catch up. I think I'm under leveled based on all the walkthroughs that I'm following, but I haven't had much issues when I don't do dumb things in combat. So I ended up turning up because I had the Pixel remaster. I turned up the XP multiplier a little bit to catch up just in case, and that way I could unlock some skills. But I'm like halfway through the first act or whatever in that. And then outside of that, I was supposed to have new glasses this week. I went to pick them up and she hands me a thing to read and be like, "Oh, how is this?" And I just said, "Whoa." She's like, "Is it a big difference?" I'm like, "It's not supposed to be. I see 2." Somehow my numbers were incorrect and I had to hold them like all the way up to my eyebrows and look out of the bottom of them to see straight. So I'm waiting on those to come back in. It was trippy.
That's fair enough. If you need a boat to get to work, I know a guy. Sorry. One of my favorite jokes. So for me, we had crap weather all weekend. Like for the last 2 weekends, we were supposed to have been working on. So we tore up the backyard trying to find the septic tank. We already talked about that. But we need to plant grass so the dogs can go back out there because that's kind of the area for the dogs. And we have a big pile of dirt that we just ordered that's got to get put in there into the gardens and whatnot. We just haven't been able to do it. So, I mean, we could have possibly do it, but we're not going to do it in a way that makes us miserable. We might have to do it, but next weekend looks good. So let's see it. My wife started collecting Lorcana, not playing. I wrote playing, but not playing. She has no interest in playing, but she's now collecting Lorcana. So that's going to be interesting because I need to start playing Magic again so I can start doing Commander with some friends at work and stuff like that. My son collects Pokemon and now she collects Lorcana. So now we can hit a card store, divide and conquer. So that should be fun. Um, I just finished a book, The Dirty Streets of Heaven, which is by my favorite author, Tad Williams. I've already read it before, but I haven't read the rest of the series. So I'm starting again. It's kind of like it's a departure from his normal stuff. So, when authors, like he's a fantasy author, he's kind of like in the J.R.R. Tolkien kind of realm. But this is kind of like a detective novel with like the main character being an angel and stuff like that. So, if you're not going to read something that covers topics like that and feel like it's blasphemous to even talk about stuff like that, you probably will enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. Um, if that is the problem, then I want to go there. I do have one last thing to talk about, and I probably should have talked about in the Hearthstone section. So we had an accidental issue this weekend or on Friday where we had some uh, we were given some things to give away by the Hearthstone community team, and it accidentally got put in the wrong place. And somebody in our community took those codes and for themselves. So we were not able to distribute them yet. So I don't know if we'll get any more or not, but if you did that, please leave the community. Don't listen to the show because you do not represent the kind of things that we represent here. And I'm very disappointed. But I still appreciate everyone. Most of the people in the community are fantastic and whatnot. So yeah, no, please unsubscribe and leave the Discord. Thank you. Anyway, Pilot, do we have any news?
We do have some news. We got patch 35.2.2 with kind of a round of balance updates. We only had 2 changes for constructed. Prescient Slither Drake went from a 6/8 to a 5/8. That's the 7 mana elusive dragon that costs 3 less if you're holding another dragon. And Flight Maneuvers, the Paladin Shatter card. Still summons 2 4/4 Drakes, but the other half is now give your minions +1 attack in Divine Shield instead of +1/+1. So just kind of bringing those 2 cards down a little bit. As you know, we've kind of talked about the metas in a fairly good spot, especially for a 4 set. I think there's options. There's some rock paper scissors going on that sometimes gets a little frustrating, but most classes have some representation. At least definitely in Legend and Diamond through Legend, top 1K always gets a little bit more narrow, but even then there's 5 or 6 options I think are viable. So just kind of bringing these in line, especially because they are bigger early play patterns that can snowball really quickly. And also, I don't think they wanted to do too much because of the class that's coming out, which is the next set of news. The rest of the patch was a ton of Battlegrounds updates, which we would have expected because it's kind of the first patch of that. They did a ton of changes there that you can look at, and I think all the bug fixes were also BGs related. With the major other thing being Clocksworth is now banned in duos. We will call out that for BGs because that was busted. Tudor and I got to do that once, maybe twice. For those of you who don't play Clocksworth, you only need 2 minions to make a minion golden. And if you play it, you just get a coin instead of a triple reward. However, in duos, you can triple it and just pass it to your teammate, and they get the triple reward still. And yeah, it was insane.
It was fun. And with them not wanting to do anything with this balance patch, they sure didn't do anything because this did nothing. This was basically like we corrected card text. These nerfs did 0 to I mean, maybe their percentage points or whatever. And Orly, you can probably speak to it a little bit more, given that you are a data person and you work with the Vicious Syndicate podcast or Vicious Syndicate report world, whatever you want to call it, the brand. But I saw these and it's just like, who cares? Like, this does nothing. It's like the goggles, they do nothing. They 1 health on the minions for the shatter card does nothing because it's not that, it's the divine shield. Like, that's the big divine shield plus 2 minions, and like that 1 health does not do much. And then whatever they changed on what they went down to a 5/8 instead of a 6/8, who cares? I mean, if they were going to do anything, they should have made it a 6/7 just for the memes. But yeah, no, I'm looking at this and I'm just like, people were now, when I'm saying this, I don't feel like the meta is in a bad place. I don't think they needed to make nerfs. I think if they were going to do anything, maybe they should have made some buffs. Maybe these cards needed to change. They didn't do enough to make them actually change. I really felt like if there were 2 cards that needed to change, it's these 2 cards. But they could have buffed some couple things, whatever. But so yes, I don't think they needed to make nerfs. I'm not like, oh my god, they haven't fixed the meta. The meta's fine, but these nerfs did nothing. WorldEight, what do you think?
Well, I think that this is a matter of perception from where we're playing. We're still playing, like, we're playing in the legend ranks, right? Like, we regularly hit legend. And the Slither Drake is just like the tiniest nudge. That was like, okay, whatever. But the flight maneuvers is kind of a big deal. Because that was just basically that was just completely dominating most low level formats. And it felt awful to play against. Like the Slither Drake, they're like, oh, they've got a big dude. All right, good for you. But if you saw that flight maneuvers shatter break and then they dropped like a 1-drop, you're like, okay, this game is like effectively over on turn 1 based on their mulligan. And the play rate for that aggro paladin dropped tremendously. Now I think it's less popular than Unholy Death Knight, something like that, right? Like it completely went away, right? Like they deleted a deck without really making a huge impact on the Oradin. And I do want to have to give big props to Clark Hellscream for like figuring out this massive scam with like, we're always going to get flight maneuvers. Even though that's like the deck was just a a mulligan simulator. So yeah, I mean, I think it changed the landscape for not even like Diamond through Legend, but lower players that are in lower ranks, like the people that don't really get out of Platinum, right? Which is still a fair number of players. So I do think they could have included some buffs for the classes that weren't getting class sets. You know, I know I've been playing a lot of Warlock, but people have been saying, maybe Warlock needs a nudge. And I think that for that in particular, it's a little frustrating because the Herald stuff feels really close by itself without the egg scam, but it needs a little bit more. So, well, we didn't get any buffs this time, but that doesn't mean it's never on the table. And but I disagree. I don't think these were nothing nerfs. Just particularly the flight maneuvers, and I guess they were just like, all right, Slither Drake's coming along for the ride.
Yeah, but I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I think people just stopped playing it because they saw that it was nerfed. I don't think this nerf made a difference as far as the play pattern of the shadow card, the flight maneuvers.
Yeah, and that's actually sometimes like an effect that these buffs and nerfs have. Specifically, you'll see these like random weird buffs every once in a while, and it's mostly the dev team being like, hey, you guys should really like take another look at this archetype. It might be good again. And sometimes they're right, and sometimes nobody cares. But there have been several times in the past where like the smallest nudge didn't actually really move the needle, but it did bring attention back to that class. And then more attention means more refinement, and more refinement means you'll get better decks out of it, and the whole thing will perform better. But yeah, even if it's just like to discourage people from that play pattern, then mission accomplished, I think.
It's fair. Go ahead, Pilot.
I was gonna say, I mean, this, like WorldEight talked about, I mean, these are these are full ladder nerfs more than higher legend nerfs. But the Slither Drake going from 6 to 5 attack nearly buys you a turn. With if you're thinking how hard it is to get rid of this because it's elusive, and when it's coming down, taking one less damage when it's punching you in the face probably buys you a breakpoint of a turn of you're probably going to live with 3 or 4 rather than dying than 2 or 3 turns later, which gives a chance. And flight maneuvers was just so hard for anything that basically anything that wasn't Demon Hunter to deal with. And even then getting punching through the Divine Shield and then dealing 3 when this was coming down was tricky. It's easy to do much easier to do something to break the shield and then do 2 afterwards, because most of their stuff had 2 health between the Drakes and all the little 1 and 2 drops, to where it's a little bit more efficient to fully clean that up rather than, well, I can kind of chunk my way through half of this and then the second one comes down from fins and you have to do it all over again. And it prevents that snowball as well.
That fins play is ridiculous. I just couldn't believe it the first time I saw that interaction. And the first time I saw that interaction, they had the fins in the mulligan too. So on turn 4, they went fins, and I just saw all the shatters coming back together. I almost actually won that game. That's how crazy that Tentacles card is, by the way. But regardless, it was I didn't win, but it was that interaction just strikes me as maybe not intentional.
That's fair. Yeah. No, but they've actually, I believe they have said that is working as intended. So take that for what it's worth.
I don't know if they've said it, but it works how things like that have in the past, like when we corrupted Nitro Boost poison off of Secret Passage and stuff like that.
I thought it was confirmed. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought I read somewhere it's confirmed. It doesn't matter. Pilot, do we have any other news this week?
Yeah, but kind of bouncing off of that, the reason why we didn't get much for buffs or bigger patches because the class sets are coming. So these class sets are replacing mini sets for this year. They are still planning 3 waves of them, and with each of them, they're going to give 4 different classes. A set of cards. I believe we're getting 7 cards for each class with this run. So it, the reason they say in the blog post, the reason that they're trying class sets, focusing on fewer classes gives them a chance to give each of them a distinct game plan and kind of make a stronger class moment. They want to try to make a more noticeable meta shift with these by pushing 4 classes with new cards rather than giving each class 3 cards and seeing kind of just seeing what happens. And then also gives more impactful updates throughout the year rather than having a mini set where, because of the nature of them, 1 or 2 cards they play, or we have Yogs and things like that happening again, then these kind of hit these classes and then we see those shifts throughout the year. And we'll talk a lot more about the cards here in a little bit, but that is going to release here this upcoming Tuesday with the restoration of Azeroth class set for Druid, Hunter, Paladin, and Mage. 52 total cards across all 4 classes. They are, the way that they're doing these, they are doing each individual class as a class set that you can buy for $10 US, 1,000 runestones, or 1,200 gold, or you can buy the full bundle, which also includes 2 copies of a signature card as well as a hero skin for Hunter. That is $20 US, 2,000 runestones, or 2,500 gold, which I think is a little bit more than what the mini sets were.
All right. So before we dive into that, so I have a question for both of you, and I guess me too, because I'll answer it. What do you think of mini sets versus the class sets? With not necessarily evaluating the cards and whatnot, But like, what do you think about the concept of, hey, instead of getting a mini set where each class gets 3 cards, we get a couple legendary, neutral legendaries, whatever it might be, but now you're getting the updates for your class now, and then you're not going to see any till next year. What are your thoughts? WorldEight, why don't you start?
Oh boy. Okay. Short version, I like mini sets. I have in the past. I felt like they were pretty good value, for what you paid for, what you got. I understand their frustrations where they said, okay, we, feel like we can only release 2 to 3 cards within this mini set, and so that restricts design space. But some people say like mini sets have no impact, and I just basically point back to almost every single mini set having a major impact. Like there's almost none that I can think of that didn't have like a new deck coming out of it. I think we've even talked about this on the podcast before, where I don't know if that's going to be true of the class sets. Maybe we'll see that, but I liked the mini sets because I think they added more flavor to whatever the expansion was. They added complex versions of whatever the mechanic was. I thought was really cool. Right? You would take, and this would happen in like other card games too that had like follow-on sets where you're like, okay, we started off with whatever this original mechanic was, and we're gonna do something a little bit more interesting and challenging in the mini set. Maybe add a little bit of world building as well. Like they had some stories with the Emerald Dream, and then that gets burned down, or with Umbra like coming in and stealing the egg. Like they had a little bit of chance for storytelling where whatever they did with it, they gave them an opportunity. Where class sets, it's not so much of storytelling, at least from what we're seeing here. Like it's just very generic. I I'll be honest, I didn't even realize we had to pay for these. I thought these were just like free core cards we are getting, like we did Crusader Aura. Like I was like, okay, it's just because they're that generic, without any context. And I guess they said, oh, this is Restoration of Azeroth. I'm like, okay, like, but at first I was just like, oh, this is like a nice little bonus, like core sprinkled in over the year. But that's not the case. So, but I like, especially liked the mini sets that had dual class cards. I felt like that opened up a lot of the restricted design space that they had. It was a really cool place to do the dual class cards. I think they did that 3 times, where that wouldn't have worked in the main set. And yeah, I think I also give them a lot of respect for trying something new, right? It's hard to try something new. And we'll obviously see how it lands. I think there's a little bit of feel bad too, where this set, like I'm like, okay, I'm a warlock player right now. I'm not usually a warlock player, by the way. It just happens to be what I'm jamming, but I'm like, this class is in a bad spot. I'm not getting any support right now. That feels bad, right? Like Druid's in a really good spot. Druid's getting more stuff. Hunter's in a good spot. Hunter's getting stuff. Paladin's in a good spot. Paladin's getting stuff. Like, why is everybody else, like, who's already like doing well, getting even more? And it's like, well, try this other thing. And okay, sure, but people, I'm not like a class main, but people are, and so they're probably going to get a little salty that they didn't get nothing. But people get salty anyway. Again, the short version is I like mini sets. I'll miss them, but I give them respect for trying something new here.
Pilot, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was very back and forth on mini sets. There were some that I really liked because they were just, there was a few that had just the very generically good cards that basically one of each could kind of slot into something. And I felt like then after a little bit we kind of strayed into we got a meta shift, but it's because we got 1 or 2 super broken things that took over when we had Gog, we had Kazakhstan, we had those types of neutral cards just kind of taking things over, or some other deck that was already good and it got a really good card to go with it. I'm still unsure about this for the exact reason that WorldEight just said of, we have three of the four classes that we're getting sets for were already in decent spots, and a lot of these cards don't necessarily super push the prominent archetypes for that, other than maybe Druid, because Druid got a lot more just generically good cards than packages in the other ones. But that was the thing that worried me of, okay, we've got a class that's already tier 1, and now they got an extra 7 cards that fit into that tier 1 deck while everyone else is waiting 2 more months. So we'll see what happens with that, but that was my skepticism going in, and it's still kind of what I'm worried about as much as I'm excited to play with newer stuff.
All right, so I have lots of thoughts on this. One, there's no rule that says they have to have only 3 cards for the mini set per class or whatever like that. They make the rules. If you want to make the mini set bigger, make the mini set bigger. If you want to say, oh, hey, Druid needs more love, Warlock needs more love, you can dynamically decide what you want to do when you release these mini sets. You can figure it out. Like if you want to change the format, maybe change chart. But okay, the other thing is we know that they're trying to figure out ways to make money, and they are a for-profit company that needs to make money. It's fine. Like if you're a free-to-play player, you are fodder for people that want to pay money to play. The rest of the reason why you're here. It's fine. So if they want to find a way, why is it either or? Why aren't we getting mini sets? And then we have 12 months. We're about to have 12 classes when they release Monk. So why don't they have, hey, mini set comes out when it comes out. January is Mage month. February is Druid month. March is Warrior month. Just don't do it in alphabetical order. And then you could have your mini sets, do what you want to do, and you could sell us more stuff. You could sell us these mini sets, and if you don't care about it, if you only care about Demon Hunter, you just have to buy the Demon Hunter set when it comes out in November, whatever. But you still get the difference in the card changes. Like there are so many things they could do here instead of just saying like I don't like that. If you are a person that likes a particular class, you're kind of like, well, I guess we have August, whatever. That doesn't feel right to me. I'd rather them keep the mini sets and then also feel free to sell us these other sets, which doesn't bother me because you can still craft them and get them from packs. So it's not like you can't get them unless you buy these mini sets or you buy the class sets. You can still get them because they're going to be introduced to the pool. So I'm fine with that. So I think they just missed an opportunity here to just, rather than giving us $158 to get a pet off of Darkmoon Faire, hey, 1,200 gold or $5 to $10 to get your class set for that month, whatever. I think that was an opportunity. I'd rather them do both, like honestly, and I don't like that they're not doing both. So I agree 100% with WorldEight. I love that they try different things. Like whether you like them or don't like them, people hated anomalies. I loved anomalies. I thought anomalies were awesome. I think they needed some tweaking, but I love the concept of anomalies when they were released into standard and whatnot. So and I understand why people didn't like them, and I feel you. I'm not saying you're wrong, but you're wrong. I'm just saying that it was nice that they're like, that was brave. Like we're doing something completely different. Let's see how it works. And maybe it doesn't work, but it's fine. I know, Pilot, you weren't necessarily particularly agreeing with me on having both.
Not at all. Partly because, so one of the things that I struggled with was mini sets, and this has gotten better over the, well, I don't know if I want to count last year as it getting better. One of the early struggles with it was we had so many expansions where we get the set release, they get the clear 2 big bads kind of taken care of in the first balance patch. They do the next big balance patch, and it's the best way that we have it. And then 2 weeks later, the mini set upends the whole thing. And I know that was a frustration for a lot of people, and that was one of my things with mini sets, to where I'm just like, we've get the meta kind of figured out. We have something balanced, and now you know we get these two obviously busted cards that upend the whole thing. Um, so that was where I was kind of back and forth. I was very much, I know for a while. There's people talking about, should it be no mini sets and 4 main sets? And I kind of fell into that pool and group a little bit during that time. I really, I I don't think that keeping mini sets and adding these is at all the answer, when you were just talking about in the news how you're like, why didn't we get any buffs with this patch? How comes we didn't? How comes we got 2 nerfs that didn't do much of anything? If they're putting out a new class set every month, plus mini sets and new sets, main sets every 2 months on rotation, when in the world are they going to balance and buff anything? That's why we didn't get any buffs this patch, partly because of this coming out. Like, when is that following anywhere in the development cycle then? That's impossible.
You can do it at the same time you're releasing these sets. There's opportunities. They have the ability to do it whenever they want to. I don't think that's a problem. I think, yes, will unbalance the meta, probably. Like, I think like this has been, Imbue Druid was a little bit much when we started. We've only had, I feel like this Cataclysm is the fewest like tweaks we've ever had to have this long in a set. Like, I feel like we've barely had any balance, and we're already into the mini set, and I think it's been great. And I'm okay. The meta doesn't have to be balanced. You can't have those gigantic, horrible outliers that whatever. And as long as they're quick to kind of deal with that, that's fine. I don't know. I think I hear what you're saying. I agree with it on some level, at the same level. Give us more cards. Like, is anyone ever going to complain about getting more cards? I don't know.
When we get a bunch of junk fillers, yes, because people have complained about that for 10 years of the game's existence.
But they've given us a lot less filler, haven't they?
They have. They have, because they're switching to this instead and doing the event cards, where we're getting some class cards in the event stuff. There's some other point that I was going to make, and I forget what it was.
You just wanted to gaslight me, I'm sure, somehow.
I do think, one thing with this is, we're really just rebranding the mini sets over taking them away, because we're getting close to the same amount of cards as what we got in them. I think it's like 20 less, but by the end of the year, we typically got 3 cards per class in the mini set, and then sometimes the class got an extra one because of how the legendaries fell or whatever it was. And we're getting 7 per class with these, to where, yes, we're going to get a couple less cards by the end of the year for each class, depending on what they do with the event cards. So by the end of the year, we're kind of ending up at the same number. This is just kind of grouping them up more, to where if they want to do a package, it makes more sense to do something in this, rather than, well, we're putting 2 cards in the package in a mini set, and then 2 cards in this main set, and then 2 cards in this main set, and hopefully people don't forget about it by the time we get the last bit of it.
But I also think that I understand how the development cycle works, but I also wish they would look at the meta as it was going. Like, what is the meta? Which classes need help, and then use the mini set to, like, oh, here's a couple cards that is going to boost this particular class because we know it needs it, and make that more of a dynamic thing, rather than, hey, this is what it's going to be because we already decided it 5-6 months ago.
That was my other point. If they designed the cards so far in advance, and I know that there have been a couple mini sets where they've said like the development of those have been later than the main sets, but they're still well enough in advance that it's very, very difficult to say, oh, well, we were going to make this class set this, but Warlock's in a bad spot, let's bump that up 4 months. Like, that's, if Warlock was planned for the very last class set of this year, there's no chance that they're able to add it into this one, unless they've already designed those cards this time last year.
But you could look at the cards that you've made, and you can look at, like, okay, here,
not if they're not made yet.
No, but you can look at the cards that you have, not necessarily for like this new style, but like with the mini sets we had, and you can like, hey, been some times where like one shaman card has been all the difference to like just give it enough to go in the right direction and stuff like that. And you can look and be like, hey, like we have some really smart developers that know a lot about Hearthstone, right? So you could see and like what is I don't know what's a good class. What is Warlock lacking right now? Well, here's the archetype we want to push, and here's the card we're about to release. Is that really going to change anything? And obviously, you don't have millions and millions of games played, but you can figure out like, well, maybe this needs to be a little better, or maybe this needs to be a little worse, or whatever it might be. And you can do that kind of work. So I don't know.
They do, but you can't make cards appear and when they're not supposed to be there yet. That's what I'm saying.
It's a digital card game. You can do whatever you want. Like yeah. So WorldEight, you've been awfully quiet. Any thoughts?
No, I mean, I think it's also, yeah, it's from a, if you follow like the design blogs at all, right? They've planned this out a year ago, right? Like they don't have that granularity. They were putting these class sets together, last summer, last fall, something like that. They know what their expansion is, the fall, the winter. Like they know they're probably working on the expansion for next spring, right? Like they've got a really long lead time on all these things because they have a lot of moving pieces to get together. So they don't really have that flexibility to be like, oh, well, now we can see currently that these sets are weak, unless they were like, oh, we have like all the pool of all the class sets, we're gonna rearrange so that this one's earlier in the year. But it looks like they did come up with a theme here, Restoration of Azeroth. And I don't think they would have, and that makes sense to me. And I don't think they would have shoehorned some like evil Death Knight into this one, right? Like, here's the Restoration of Azeroth, except here's all these zombies eating everybody. Or, whatever you want to, do. But it's, there's still some thematic here.
But you can keep the theme. You can keep the theme, and especially if you had the mini sets, you could be like, here are the 3 cards. Here are what they're doing. Are they going to move the needle? No. Well, then can we buff these to move that needle? Can we like say, oh, hey, we have this card that's like, hey, restore Azeroth Druid, and it's a 5 mana, blah blah blah. But like Druid doesn't have a card drawer, so let's tack a card drawer onto it. Does that make it too overpowered? How can we do like you can do stuff within the constraints of the balance that they're doing with the theme that they're doing and the cards that have already been designed without changing that.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not a card design person. I am armchair quarterbacking. What they do is hard. It is very difficult. I am not trivializing that, but I'm just saying that they have these abilities. This digital card game. They can. We've heard from them. They're saying, "Hey, in the last week, we changed things from 4 mana to 5 mana, whatever like that." We know they can shift things when they need to. So,
I don't think either of us are arguing against that. I think we're arguing you can't switch a druid to a warlock a month before it releases.
No. I get that completely.
Okay. That's what it sounded like you were arguing.
No. I'm saying like, hey, like this class needs a tweak. Like, and we're about to release a mini set. Does this help the class enough? No, it doesn't. So how can we change these cards to make it a little stronger so that way maybe that could compete more or something? They have that power.
Yeah, I mean, I also like maybe they're saving up for a big buff, right? Like they want to give this opportunity for the class to shine, for these decks to shine. Yeah, maybe something that's not doing great right now is continue not to do great. But maybe in 3 weeks they do something crazy like Shogal eats minions on the board. This is a proposal I've heard, and that's an absolutely insane thing to maybe do, but give this new druid set a little bit of breathing room before you do something that might completely break everything else because you're swinging for the fences on these underperforming classes.
this is also a week earlier than we would have expected the 0.4 patch, because it's only 3 weeks after the BG's patch, which should give another chance for, a big balance patch before we get to the pre-release of the next set.
Yeah, because I mean, one of my favorite buffs ever was the Energy Shaper buff, which was a while ago, right? Which was a card that basically said all the spells in your hand are now random spells that cost 2 more, and then they buffed it to be 3 more, and that created a whole deck, and that was so cool. Like, to just one little, maybe one little change, but it took a class that wasn't doing much at the time and gave it a whole new deck. So, but if you did this bundled with this right now, you might lose all these cards that they just worked really hard on. So maybe a little bit of copium, but maybe fingers crossed that the next balance window they do some bold buffs.
All right, so should we actually talk about these new cards? What do you think?
Yeah. And I apologize, Tito, when you go to show them on screen if I mess up the formatting. I did miss one card when I was making the show notes. There is a neutral that they're adding with this as well. That is the signature. That is a bonus if you get all 3, and it's in packs as well. So while Tito gets that pulled up, we'll go ahead and talk about the neutral first. Cultivating Sprite. A 3-mana 3/3 Battlecry. Get a 3-cost bulb that casts 3 random 1-cost spells. It upgrades each turn, and that is a 3-mana nature spell that it gives you. So if you squint and look at this really closely, I think Gorgon's Ormu is somewhere in the background as well. It's Gorgon's Ormu with spells, so which is probably slightly worse than random minions from the cheese wheel, but it's still an interesting effect.
So we're sure that because it doesn't really define. It says upgrades each turn. It's upgrading the cost of the spell, not the amount of spells cast, right?
Yes, because that is the digit on the card. The digit always changes. The word stays the same.
Okay. I mean, this seems fine. It doesn't seem like. I mean, I'm sure there'll be some deck that decides to run it, but it doesn't feel like it's going to be meta defining on any level, but it seems fine. Especially that's what we want the neutrals, right? We want the neutrals where you can play them in some decks, but we're not playing them in every deck because that sucks. What do you think there, Mr. 8?
Well, I mean, obviously the comparison to Gorgon's Ormu is pretty close, except that we're not sure that these spells are going to benefit us.
Yes.
Generally, you want to just be casting random stuff is better than nothing, but it's a lot different than being like, oh, I'm going to get, if you sat on Gorgon's Ormu on like turn 6 or something, you'd be getting a whole bunch of 5 drops. Like, and it was a really good deal. Mm-hmm. And here, you don't really know what you're going to get unless you really curate it and sit on it. I'm looking at I hadn't actually looked at the spell pool, but like the 5s are pretty good in general. For example, but you do get like random stuff in there like Supreme Dynamancy or like Divergence, right? Like, but you might also get random for Glory or Army of the Dead stuff. So I think it's really funny though when you get to the 9 and 10 mana. The only thing, as far as I can tell, for 9 mana is Murden's Last Stand and the new Druid spell are the only 2 9 mana spells. If I'm not mistaken. And then and then 10 is hilarious. 10 is Spellweaver's Brilliance, so you get your 6/6 dragon. Mm-hmm. Story of Amaro, then you get 40 life, and then Typhoon, and you shuffle everything randomly. So I guess that's good. Right, like a guaranteed Typhoon is kind of hilarious for any class that wants it. Yeah, I mean the spells are kind of all over the place, and you're mostly going to be, if you did do this, you'd be doing this on 4. and you just don't know what's gonna happen. So I think this is something where maybe somebody will analyze this and be like, oh yeah, this is really good, but make sure you cast it what's on like cost 5 and 7 and stuff like that. But I think it also is a big difference between Gorgonzola, where this costs 3, and Gorgonzola costs 2 for the cheese. You know, every 1 mana counts. So, you know, Gorgonzola didn't see any play at a 4 mana, 4/4, right? So even though the effect was really powerful, you know, even the slightest nudge from that baseline where everybody played it, it might just be sitting, you know, collecting dust unless somebody's like, well, you got to play this bulb and really try and hit it at the you know, this cost.
I think they need a keyword because like we've had places where it's like target friendly minions when it's like a buff, and we've had ones that are like guaranteed to target an enemy minion if possible. We need one that's like balanced with something like this, like that. If it's something that's going to negatively affect your opponent, hit your opponent. If it's something that's going to be a positive benefit to you, hit you. There's no like one that does both. And with this one, it's just like this is almost guaranteed you're gonna like fireball you in the face, right? So, and that's part of the randomness. But I wonder if like we have half measures of that kind of balance. I wonder if we need to eventually have it so it's like it's always going to be positive if you play it, and maybe that makes it a little more appealing. Not always positive, but obviously, if you have a full board, you play this and it gets typhooned. Too bad, so sad. But if you have like you guarantee that like the fireball's not going to hit you in the face, and you're not giving your opponent Wind Fury with Divine Shield and Lifesteal, whatever it might be, right? If there was a way to balance that out, that'd be interesting.
Well, they had Prison of Yogg, so here the bulb could cast 3 random spells at a target. Right, because that's what Prison of Yogg was. Like you picked a target and then it cast the spells at the target. And so typically you aimed it at their big fat minion and hoped you rolled Assassinate or something. Or you pointed it at their face and hoped you rolled Fireball. And then, you know, so that's like a mitigating way where it's like, okay, well then sometimes every once in a while you'd buff their minion or something like that. But generally, you know, Prison of Yogg was like board buffs, draw, or damage kill, right? And so you just generally targeted at their stuff, and that was pretty good. Like, and that's a nice balance, I think.
All right, Pilot, you got any thoughts on Cultivating Sprite before we move on to the next one?
Nope.
All right, let's talk about Druid.
So, Druid got out of the 4 classes that we got kind of the most just kind of generic stuff in their set. So cards, I think the card that stood out the quickest to a lot of people was the 9 mana nature spell Life Bloom. Restore 8 health to all friendly characters. Summon 2 random 8 cost minions. It's expensive, but that is a very, very powerful effect. We got their other epic is a location, Tranquil Clearing. Give a minion +2 health and taunt. It falls asleep until the end of your next turn. So it has like the summoning sickness. It does not go dormant. It just can't attack. Legendary Bashana Rune Totem, a 7 mana 4/4 battle cry. Get 3/2/2 trance. Carve 12 mana worth of nature spells into them. So we have a 2/2 trance that will cast some sort of nature spell when you play it. And then a couple cards that care about if you did not play a minion last turn. A 3-cost nature spell, Heartroot Stones, draw a card and gain 3 armor. If you didn't play a minion last turn, do it again. As well as a 5 mana 3/7 Wizened Wild Speaker, taunts Battlecry if you didn't play a minion last turn, refresh 3 mana crystals. We got a dragon, 4 mana 4/4 dragon, taunt Death Rattle, get a random dragon. It costs 2 less. That's a seeding dragon. And then Ashworm, a 1 mana 6/6 beast, starts dormant when your board is full. Awaken. So quite the variety here. I think, like I said, Life Bloom probably finds its way into any ramp druid. The Seeding Dragon is pretty solid, especially if we are an Oaken Summons deck. It's a very, very good target for that. I don't know if we're playing few enough minions to make the 2, if you didn't play minion cards, worth it, but we might be able to find a way to do it because those effects are probably strong enough to try to go for it.
All right, I meant to ask you this, both of you. So, with all these classes, I want you guys to answer. Are you excited to play this? And do you think this will have an impact on the meta? So, Pilot, are you excited to play this? Do you think it'll have an impact on the meta?
I think it will have an impact. I just don't quite know how much it, just because these aren't packages like we're getting in the other 3. Like I said, Life Bloom, I think, finds its way into Marithra, the Ramp Druid, pretty quickly. The Legendary feels like getting 12 mana of spells on Treants should be, it feels like it should be good enough, but it feels like this effect is never enough unless it's like 10 larger for the number than what it should be. So like we've seen stuff like this before. It's just like, is that close enough to get us there? And then we never actually play it. So it's probably in the same spot. I think the Life Bloom, I think the Dragon find places fairly quickly. The others, I don't know.
All right, WorldEight, what are your thoughts on Druid?
Well, I have a signature quest Druid.
Yep.
So I'll try it. Right? Like, I'm here to take the baits with Ashworm, and clearing helps a lot, actually. Another board slots. So between the two of them and Wickerfang, then you've got one. And yeah, and trees. I just think trees is so hilarious. I want to build a deck with trees. Yeah, I mean, I think with like some of the dragony stuff, I think it's closer than you think. Like, if you play enough Marithra, you're like, yeah, my board's like pretty full. I think if you just add the clearing, maybe even not worry too much about the worm. Like, clearing could just every once in a while give you a nice little taunt. And otherwise, actually, it's hilariously, it's kind of like a red card on your opponent's minions too. Like, if you don't want them to hit you, yeah, put that thing to sleep. And ignore it for a turn or two until you deal
Yeah.
with it. So I think that's actually a pretty flexible card. I think that I don't think Rune Totem's going to see much play, right? Like, it's like Highborn Mentor. It's like, yeah, there's good value here, but what you really want to be ramping to is Life Bloom. Healing the board is not, don't ignore that. Like, that it's all characters. It's not just your face. You can do a whole bunch of value trades and then heal everybody and get the minions. I think that's a really powerful card. If you haven't played something on the previous turn, can definitely be very good. Like we were saying with like Oaken summons. It's funny because it'd be really, really good in Imbue Druid, right? Because instead of playing a minion, you just click your button. And this is nature spells, but the deck was nerfed. Maybe, I don't know. I don't think it's gonna bring it back, but it would have been even more disgusting, I think. It's what you really want to do is you want a Wild Speaker into the Heart Root on the same turn, which is a 3/7 with 6 armor, draw 2. Like, that's a pretty crazy turn without too much restrictions. I could see probably Heart Root also just kind of like making its way into a bunch of ramp druids as well, like, because you'll do turns where you ebb and flow and you Horn of Plenty, right? Like you're just kind of like not doing anything that previous turn, and like 6 armor draw 2s is pretty solid. So the question is, are you excited to play it? Yeah, I'm definitely gonna try, like I said, specifically quest druid stuff, because I'm on the cope train for that. But I think we'll see a lot of these cards, because there's already a really strong archetype that could support them.
So you already answered. Are you going to play Druid? Do you think this will affect the meta?
I mean, I think that Marithra is already a pretty tight list, is the thing, right? Like, these are competing for some pretty tight slots. Is it going to impact the meta? I think Life Bloom probably will, more than anything. But I don't think it's really going to create. Maybe Quest Druid will be a new deck, but it's not going to really change it too much else.
See, I feel like these cards are all over the place. Like
Oh, they are.
Ashworm, cool. Where Ashworm's cool. Tranquil Clearing, cool, but like instead of making it dormant, it's asleep. So instead of having like that dormant synergy, you don't, right? So like you could probably have worked in that Viper there, whatever it's called, the one that is cheaper if you have dormant cards. Maybe found some kind of way to make some dormant druid deck, especially
That
since
that's
is
a
that
that's a
that
Demon
demon
Hunter card.
that's
That's a
not
Demon
neutral?
Hunter card. No.
I thought that was neutral. Anyway, okay, but like it still feels like it's kind of like weird that it's like, hey, you can either be asleep or you can be dormant. I don't know, whatever. And then you have the Wizened Wild Speaker, which is Battle Cry. If you didn't play a minion last turn, refresh 3 mana crystals, but they didn't give us a four cost spell to like play before it. That kind of feels like a natural play into it. And I know we have four cost druid spells like you have Oaken Summons or whatever like that, but it when you're releasing a class set, like what are we supposed to expect? And I would almost expect the synergy there, right? So I'd almost expect, hey, you want to play our 4-cost spell, which then leads into this 5-cost minion that expects you to cast like this 4-cost spell because there's the synergy there. And the rune totem, like carve 12 mana is such a weird thing. Like if you're gonna say carve, make it a keyword and like make it black so I can highlight it and it actually explains what the card does. Because carve is like, we understand what it means. We understand what we think it means because we're engaged players, but it's such an arbitrary word that it should be like, well, what does that mean? And make a keyword. Just say carve. It means we're going to, like, you could actually get Life Bloom and you can get like a 10 mana spell and a 2 mana spell and an innervate. Who knows, right? So explain like what that is because that's weird. And I know a lot of times they're like, well, if you play the card, you'll understand it. Sure, but just give it a keyword. Who cares if it's only used once? Carve means this, and then we've already had other cards that carve. Just we have like what's the one? What's the one? Instant multiverse. That's like kind of a similar kind of thing, right? Only we're not carving it into minions. We're doing it. I don't know. So I think these are interesting cards. I'm looking forward to playing them. I'm sad that when everyone brings up the Highborn, what was it, Highborn?
Highborn Mentor.
Because we revealed that card, and that card needs to see more play. But yeah, no, I mean these are all fine. I think some of these will find places and homes in different decks, but I guess I'm trying to understand what the class set is supposed to be, because this doesn't necessarily feel like this is putting you in any particular direction. It's kind of like, here's some cards, here's some druid cards, go nuts. And that's different than some of the other sets. So I don't feel I don't know. I feel like this druid feels kind of all over the place here, whereas some of the other sets feel a little bit more tighter and more cohesive. So I don't really know what to think of the druid set, but I mean, some of the cards seem fine, so we'll see. Pilot, what's our next set?
Our next set is Hunter, where Hunter did get a more focused set for the most part, with a lot of the cards dealing with animal companions. Gonna get to the other two first because they're totally unrelated, more or less unrelated. We have a 2 mana nature spell, Nurturing Nature. Give a friendly beast +2/+2. Give a random beast in your hand +2/+2. And they also got a 4 mana 3/3 Wasteland Vanguard. Battle Cry, deal 3 damage split across all enemies. If any die, deal 3 more. And all the other 5 cards work with animal companions, specifically replacing a lot of them focus on replacing your animal companions with beasts of a higher cost. So we have a 1-cost Tame Pet. Replace your future animal companions with random beasts that cost 1 more. Draw a card. 3 mana 3/4 beast, migrating elect, taunt battle cry, replace your future animal companions with beasts that cost 1 more as well. And then a 7 cost spell, roam free. Replace your future animal companions with random beasts that cost 2 more. Choose 1 to summon. And then we have 2 cards that work with summoning them. A 4 cost 2/2 Spirit Speaker, Battlecry, choose an animal companion to summon. And a 5 cost legendary Talia. So I think I said Earth Strider. Battle is a 5 mana 4/6 battle cry. Your cards that summon animal companions summon 1 more this game. So obviously with this, they're working on kind of a evolve your beast thing. There is still, you could play the ones that summon the companions without actually playing the others. And when you do summon animal companions off of the regular cards, you would choose them, or they would summon 1 more. These would also work with animal companion and with Call of the Wild. Is that the 8 mana spell? Because that is back in core this year.
Yeah, that sounds right. No, it's by my side, to my side. Maybe I'm
sure
wrong.
It's Call of the Wild.
Maybe I'm
Yes,
thinking
Call of the
one.
Wild.
The to my side is 2 of them, right? That's like that was a wild card that brings 2 of them to play. So yeah,
Sure.
yeah. So Pilot, what are you thinking?
This feels like something I would be baited by, but I also feel like I haven't checked in a ton, but I've seen enough of Sidisi talking these up and him being excited that it feels like there might be something here. It feels like you've got to hit the curve pretty quickly and not get punched in the face very quickly. But there's possibilities, especially if you get the evolves going, because the roam free is obviously very expensive for Hunter with it costing 7. But if you've bumped them up already to where if you've played the others on curve, if you're getting the extra 1 from the legendary, then that's very, very possibly 7 mana for 2 7 cost beasts, where you're choosing the what you're choosing between the 3 that you're evolved into. So when you do have this choose, from what I did see, once they evolve and change into the higher cost, it stays that. So it's not like you go up from 3 to 4 and you're going to keep the same 4 cost beast while you're on 4 mana. While you're on 5 mana, it'll be the same 5 cost beast. It's not going to be the whole pool of 5 cost beasts and it's a completely random what you're getting. So then you can kind of be like, oh, I've got some good options on this. I can wait on this tame pet for a couple turns, get some of these because they help me get there, and then go from there. I don't know how good it'll be, but I think it's something that is interesting enough. It's something that we've seen somewhat work before. The difference is I don't know if we have the high enough impact of when we were doing things like Hollow Hound with Rush and things like that to kind of stabilize and get through the mid game.
WorldEight, what are your thoughts?
Well, the first 2 that don't have to do with animal companions don't seem great to me. I think those are just going to kind of be they're part of the filler. Nurturing Nature might have been okay if it was choose a beast in your hand, because we now have that technology, right, to choose things in our hand. So that would have been a nice touch. I don't see why that has to be random, because what I would like to have done with Nurturing Nature is to do like a hand buff Hunter deck again, right? Like, because we still have the Rune Bear and some of the other like Emerald Dream cards that like care about being buffed. But if I'm playing, like, I need other beasts in my deck to like have it on the board and stuff like that. So if I was able to play Nurturing Nature with like Rune Bear, I'd be pretty happy. But it seems like it'd be just a little too optimistic there. Anyway, all the annual companion stuff is weird. I'm just gonna say it. It's a little odd, right? Like pre-evolving things, and it's a little hard to wrap your head around. like that you're building a new pool of annual companions, and are they really like that much better? Hover's a pretty good animal companion. Like I'm pretty happy with that. Or Leatherneck with the board buff. Like all the annual companions are kind of like above grade to begin with.
Mhm.
Except for maybe Misha, but we love Misha. Um, and there's a lot of efforts to make it into like we're gonna make a board based deck here. Uh my challenge is that like the current Dragon Hunter is like way more aggressively statted than this, like right off the bat. And it's not very playable right now because it's too reactive. It gets kind of just like run over by things. And I don't see how this random beast stuff is going to be much better than like Dragon Hunter, to be honest. Um, I would need, and maybe I'm going to be completely wrong on this, when somebody plays Brawl Bear Mantle and they summon a whole bunch of 8/8s or 8 mana stuff, but I'm not seeing it right now. I mean, another comparison that I have to make is like Imbue Paladin. Imbue Paladin's kind of doing the same thing here, right? It's juicing up some future random stuff that you're generating, and the tempo on that's actually a lot better. Like the cards that you're playing are not bad at all for immediate impact, and you just have to pay one extra mana on top to like shuffle stuff into your deck. So they definitely cooked here. Maybe it's better than I think, but I'm not too optimistic about this, even though it looks really fun. I don't know if I'm going to take the bait here.
I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think nurturing nature is better than you think it is, specifically if you're running it in Quest Hunter, because if you have like, hey, you're trying to get that 1 3 5 7, and if you have 2 3s in your hand, you can play this and you get your quest done quicker. Possibly, yeah, I think it gives you a little bit of flexibility there. I'm not saying it's good, but I think it's probably better than you think it is, in a particular situation. Um, I like the concept of the animal companion things. It's kind of like, hey, what if animal companions, but you pick different ones? It would be interesting if like you actually get to discover the three of them, but that would probably be way too slow and hard to do. So I get that, but like I get that they have migrating Alec as a 3 cost, because if you had some kind of like 4 cost and you were able to discover him as one of your new animal companions, maybe that kind of moves you along too fast. It seems fun. I think that I think there's a lot of options here. It's going to depend on what your beast pool is. I don't know what the beast pool is like, and it'll definitely change as we move into new sets. So this right here, maybe it's good, maybe it's not, maybe it gets better, maybe it gets worse every time we get a new expansion, depending on the options you get. But it definitely seems it's thinking outside the box, right? It's definitely like a how do we take something that a time honored tradition and spice it up a little bit. And I don't know if it'll be good, but I think it'll be fun. And much like Pilot, I think I'm probably going to take the bait at some point. And I hope it brings CDC much joy.
Two things to point out. One, with nurturing nature, I think one of the trickiest parts of this is to cast it. You have to have a friendly beast on board. So you've got to rely on playing something that is a beast, and then two, if you don't want to play at the same turn, having it stick. And that's normally what slows these cards down quite a bit to make them unplayable. As someone who played a hand buff hunter deck for quite a while a few years ago, it just gets a little bit awkward. Also, just to point out, because I just saw, I was looking through what Sid said on Twitter for all the stuff. Tame Pet does cost 1, which means if you're running enough 1 cost to make Confront the Tolvir worth it, that will upgrade your beast as well.
Nice. Until Confront the Tolvir is a fantastic card.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Pilot, what's Mage got going on here?
Mage has stuff going on. So Mage received, I think everything is in this package of cards. Received Ley Lines. which are 3 collectible cards as well, and then a lot of cards that deal with them. So we have all 3 are arcane spells. Leyline Nexus is a 2 mana, draw a card, it costs 1 less. Bursting Leyline is a 4 mana arcane spell, deal 4 damage to a random enemy minion, excess damage hits the enemy hero. A 6 mana spell, Crystallized Leyline, summon a random 6 cost minion. Then all of our other cards deal with the effects of the ley lines. So we have a 2-cost beast, 2/3 beast, mystic rune saber, elusive battlecry, increase the effect of your ley lines by 1 this game. So that'll change the number that is on the card. So the discount of the draw will change, the damage and the cost of the minion that you summon. We have a Ley Walker, a 3 mana 4/2 battlecry. Your ley lines cost 1 less this game. Death Rattle, get a random ley line. And then we have a 4-cost Surge Needle, a 4-cost 3/3 battlecry. Your ley lines trigger an additional time this game. And then finally, we have the legendary spell, the Arcanomicon, I don't know, something like that. A 7-mana arcane spell, get all 3 ley lines, choose an upgrade, and it's one of the upgrades from the minions. They trigger an additional time. They cost 2 less, or increase the effect of your ley lines by 2 this game. So, Tito, thoughts?
This feels like I don't need relics. I have relics at home. So I like the concept that we're going with here. It definitely feels a lot like something that is like relics or rifts or whatnot. And it's like maybe it doesn't hit right away, maybe it does, but we can tweak the whole thing because they're all tied together. Um, but yeah, the one thing I feel like is missing is I don't feel like the Arcanomion or whatever it's called is really the payoff that we want it to be. Like I forget what it was, but when you played Relics, you had that one minion that cast all 3 of them, and it really kind of felt like that was like a real good payoff. This doesn't feel quite the same to me. I could be wrong. So I'm gonna reserve judgment because it's really hard to kind of like picture these minions that you're getting and the spells and all that. I like what they're going for here. I'm not sure if the payoff is going to be worth it as far as like um a game winning thing that happens. But this is something, this is a package you can put into many different things. You can have, this is like a sub package, right? So your goal is to do these ley lines and stuff like that, but you can take this package kind of like you did with the relics and put it into some other kind of deck and have some possibly try to find some synergy here. I don't know what that is yet. So I'm optimistic, but I wouldn't be surprised if they don't need to tweak it one way or another once we get it going. What do you think, WorldEight?
So yeah, I mean, we can make a comparison to other things from the past, relics, but also Librams, and we can look and see where were these successful, where were these weak. Relics actually weren't playable on release. It's kind of hard to remember that, but they needed a buff. Even though like their scaling is actually better than this. These this but specifically referring to Librams, like this whole deck looks like it needs to find Leywalker to work. Right? Like all of the ley lines are really like overcosted. But then they all start looking pretty good if you find one Leywalker. And that's kind of where Librams failed from Great Dark Beyond, was like, did you find the weapon or not? Like if you found the weapon, the deck felt like great. Right? But if you didn't find the weapon, the deck didn't feel like a deck at all. It felt like you're playing some kind of like arena thing where you're paying 4 mana to do 4 damage to a random enemy minion. Like, come on. So, but if you get your Leywalker down, then all of a sudden your Nexus is 1. Or if you get 2 Leywalkers down, that's crazy. Right? Like you have 0 mana Nexus, 2 mana bursting, 4 mana crystallized. Like the Rune Saber is fine. Like it's just fine. But like it's still mostly gonna be a river crocodile most of the time. Other than nudging up the crystallized a little bit. And the surge needle, the 4 mana 3/3 is just such a huge tempo loss. Like you need to figure out a way to get that back immediately. And it's not like you can follow this up with like a star power, which is like a board clear for mage. You're gonna need to figure out how to compensate for that tempo loss. And so, what's the ideal curve here? It's a rune saber into a laywalker into a needle, and then you cast your crystallize, and what's that gonna do? That's gonna summon a pair of 7/7s, right, for 5 mana. But we've already like taken this huge tempo loss getting up there, and this is like absolute ideal scenario. So I think this is all pretty interesting, but I think the power level is actually a little too low. Obviously, if the game goes long, this all gets a little crazy, especially with the legendary spell. But the legendary spell also kind of has this like huge tempo loss, right? You're spending 7 mana to not do anything. You're getting the spells, you're not casting any of them. Like you called out the relics where the payoff cast all of them. It did the things. You cleared a board, you got a whole bunch of phantasms, you drew some cards. Terrific payoff. Here you're spending 7 mana to set up for the next turn. So I mean, I love the art, I love the idea, but I think the tempo loss is gonna be too big for these to, be effective unless they get some kind of, support nudge.
What do you think, Pilot?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at also as someone who played more of the Syndragos Dragon Mage than anyone should have. That was it was in a similar kind of vein to where you had to get to where you had the free buy one get one freeze, and you got to turn 5 or 6 and then got to do the crazy things. The difference was in that deck you didn't have to play specific cards to make the payoff worth it other than a couple of tutors. You could play survival tools. Here, if you're playing stuff to clear boards, you're not playing the 2, 3, and 4 drops and upgrading your ley lines and just hoping that you don't get run over by Face Hunter and Token Druid. Maybe there's a way that works. I think that this is going to be very, very strong into slower decks, and should be. And maybe we find that balance of how to keep it alive against aggro. But it's very interesting how where we fill the other 10 15 cards of the deck to make that work. And it is something to where it's very scripted. If you're going in on this, you really need the 2 into 3 into the 4 to make that payoff start to be worth it, like we talked about. And if you can't do that, then does it feel like a deck or not?
I agree with everything you said, Pilot. I had to step away for a second, so I have to say that. But don't you think one of these things should be a location as well? Like that's also kind of missing something that can be played, and then you have like a couple charges of. Like I feel like with what we're doing here, that almost feels like something that's almost missing. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the other thing too is like if you're playing like I hate to be like class focused on here, but if I'm a mage and I want to do scammy things that dominates other kind of decks, like I'd just play quest mage here, right? Like instead of like relying on ley lines summoning random 7 cost, maybe 2 of them, I'm gonna finish my quest and I'm gonna play, my taunts, right, and get some random huge 8 drops, or my Raptor Herald and get some stupid, just like a stupid board right out of the box, with very little requirement, and you're actually getting like the discover cards are fine along the way, like you can add flexibility to it. So people are gonna try this for sure, but is it gonna be better than Quest Mage? Arguable. Probably not, to be honest.
I am people who will try this.
Yeah, we're all people that will try this. But
I'm definitely doing this on Tuesday.
Well, but what you're saying makes a lot of sense. What if we what if Crystalline Leyline was discover a random 6 cost minion and summon, and what if you had
Oh
one
yeah,
more
huge
discover,
difference. Yeah, that'd be a
and
Yeah.
then
huge difference. That'd be the
and then you could
payoff.
play it in Quest Mage. Then this goes right into Quest Mage if you have a couple more discovers, and then
This Discover might make it more awkward because Mage doesn't have a lot of minions. So then it limits it to if it says Discover, then it's just Mage and neutral rather than anything.
yeah, gee, it would really suck to get more Mystic Rune Sabers and Laywalkers.
We can't get those though. If we're discovering a 6 cost.
Sure. But I'm just saying if they
Like-
had other discover things that they could add. I don't know what the pool is. I hear what you're saying, but it's going to get bigger as we go through the sets, right?
It is, but I'm curious if we're looking at Mage and minions. Sorry, I've got extra filters on. So if I'm looking at a 7, I would take a Tony. I'd be okay with that. But the rest are all understated battle cries or Volcanus. 8 is Asina, and there are no 9s and 10s. So then you're looking at only the neutrals compared to if I'm on 8 and I roll a Dracorax. I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. They clearly, with them making them all arcane, they're also trying to give Syndragosa another shot as well. I don't know if it has a shot without having a 0-cost copy. But that is something to where if we find a way to make that work, then duplicating, casting Bursting Leyline multiple times is probably an OTK.
Yep, that seems good. All right, so let's talk about Paladin. What do we got for Paladin there, Pilot?
We have recruits. We have large silver hand recruits. So think most of all the cards but one say silver hand recruit somewhere on them, and the one that doesn't almost does. So Paladin got a bunch of ways to buff and summon silver hand recruits. We have a 2-mana 2/1 Brash Battlemaster Rush Death Rattle. Give your silver hand recruits +1 attack this game. A 3-mana 3/1 Draenei Resilient Savior Divine Shield. After this loses Divine Shield, give your silver hand recruits +1 health this game. That can be recurring if you give it Divine Shield more than once. And then Emboldening Blade, a 5-mana 3/2 weapon Battlecry. Give your silver hand recruits +1/+1 this game. Then we have 2 spells that summon recruits. 2-cost Holy Spell Convalescence. Summon 2 1/1 silver hand recruits with Divine Shield. That card is just nutty in any Paladin deck. It does not need the rest of the silver hand recruits to play that card for sure. And we have a 4-cost card Teamwork. Summon and get 4 1/1 silver hand recruits. So you'll summon 4 on board and they get 4 in hand. And silver hand recruits cost 1 mana if I remember correctly. A 3-cost epic spell Charity. Get copies of all friendly minions that died this turn. Give them +3/+3. And then finally, the legendary is a 5-mana 5/6 Arbiter the Redeemer. Battlecry, double the stats of all friendly silver hand recruits and give them taunt. That is the ones on the board. That is not for the game. WorldEight, what do you think?
My dudes.
Yes.
It's hard to my dudes. Yeah, it's something. Well, as the cards are being revealed, right? Like I was like, okay, I kind of see what they're going with here, but the card that's kind of sells me on this whole thing is Convalescence. If that card wasn't here, I'd just be like, this set was a wash, but that's a real card. As Pilot mentioned, this is a card that goes into just kind of most Paladin decks that care about early board. Like this is your Morbid Swarm that goes into anything that is early, anything that goes late. The challenge is that it's, competing on the Treasure Gill acceleration aura curve, where if you put this in your deck, you kind of compromise that. But it's just a really solid card. And I could see, some kind of low cost paladin deck playing Treasure Gill with this and like a Hand of a Doll or something like that, right? In terms of recruits, it's tricky to make them interesting enough for people to play them, and then not just like be dominant, I guess. It's kind of funny because you're like, oh, how could recruits be that good? But it wasn't too long ago that Odd Paladin was like the best deck in Wild for a brief moment, which is kind of funny. Because when you can spam it, these dudes, they can get out of control. And there's not a lot of good board wipes right now. So you'd be kind of surprised how hard it is to clear a muster for battle where they all have +1/+1. And that's kind of where teamwork is trying to like give you a lot of things to work with there. I don't think it's particularly interesting design for the Silverhand recruits. Like I really loved them in Nathria when we had like sous chef and buffet biggin. Like those are really cool. Like I thought those were really cool Silverhand recruit. Like and I think promotion was there too, but like mechanisms there. Um and these all kind of poorly compared to even like War Leader, which was like a staple for a long time, the 3 mana 3/4 that gave all your recruits +2 attack and taunt. So there's a lot of setup to for a tokenate deck. That what are we trying to do here? We're trying to like go midish to late game with a whole bunch of 1/1s. I don't know. I mean, I think what we really want to do is battle master convalescence kind of stuff, maybe muster into battle, and just rely a lot on our tokens. It's interesting if you do those. So if you do, in my opinion, what's kind of interesting is you do battle master convalescence and teamwork, and then you could play Gen. If you focus a lot on the even stuff and you skip the savior, and the sword, because I think the sword's kind of garbage anyway. It's just like cost infinite. So, but you could potentially do your best impression of an even paladin here, and getting one mana for a pair of recruits is a pretty good deal. But I don't know. It's a challenge because this deck's kind of boring, and you don't see a lot of like innovation or iteration on the boring decks unless they're absolutely busted. And I'm not getting that impression right now.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about this. It's kind of interesting, but also kind of not. I agree with you. Like, yeah, obviously, convalescence competes with your aura. I can see coining out convalescence and into a brash battle master, pushing 4 damage on turn 2. Charity is also an interesting card. Teamwork feels like it's going to possibly be hand problems because it's not like if there was teamwork, would feel really good if like you're buffing cards in your hand, which we do have some cards out there that do buff your hand. Like we have that 2/4 with the Divine Shield that buffs cards in your hands. Plus, you're buffing soldiers this game, so maybe there's some synergy there. Obviously, with your end of turn legendary there, that gives everything +3/+3. If you have Divine Shield or +3/+3, that can have some synergy with convalescence and resilient savior and whatnot. So, but I agree with you. It feels kind of slow and clunky, and like embroiling blade should probably be 4 mana. Um, charity. I think some of these cards will see play. Like convalescence will see play. I think charity will see play, but I don't necessarily know that we're going. You never go full dude. I don't know if we're going full dude here. So I think they're interesting. But I don't I'm not sold yet. I will try it, but I'm not sold yet. Pilot thoughts?
I mean, it's something that's it wants to curve out very specific minions and cards. But if you can get the buffs rolling, then I think that it has a shot in what the current meta is, and none of the class sets included, a lot of board clears. So, playing 4 buffed recruits on turn 4 is going to have the same effect then as it would now, for chances of sticking. Charity, I don't think sees play. I think Charity is a little bit too awkward and slow. And Blade is awkward because I think 5 feels too expensive. I could see 4 being too much, but it naturally competes with teamwork, so maybe 4 was fine. And then I get Convalescence competes with the Aura, but I think I'm fine with either in the original versions of the deck. Before rotation, we were running, I don't remember what other spell we were running with it, but we were running Aura plus something else, and we were kind of okay with it. I think I'm fine with, getting the mana or getting, 2 1/1s with Divine Shield along with my Treasured Gill. I think I'm just fine with that.
All right. Well, I guess we will see how this change from mini sets to class sets switches out. So, anybody have any final thoughts before we wrap the show up?
I think it's a little disappointing to see these class sets, and they just are another version of your things get better by 1, right? Because that's kind of what we saw with like Imbue, right? And that's kind of boring, in my opinion, right? Like this, your animal companions get better by 1. Okay. Your dudes get a tiny little buff better by 1. Okay. And I don't know. I guess I see where they're going, like with some kind of inevitability. Like that's a way to close out the game. Is eventually you're summoning like 3 10-drop beasts, right? Like so then yeah, the game ends. But it's just a little frustrating to basically just be going off of like the Jade Golem template so much later, right? Like because that's it, I don't know, just doesn't strike me as particularly exciting to be honest.
Pilot, got any final thoughts?
No, I'm excited to lose a lot of games with Mage. I know that's how my Tuesday is going to. That's not how my Tuesday is going to be spent. I have a concert on Tuesday. That's how my Wednesday will be spent.
And I don't know if I'm allowed to play these decks because I have vowed to play good decks. But if decks are unknown, does that count as good decks or bad decks or unknown decks? I guess we'll figure that out. So WorldEight, question of the week, since you weren't here last week. What are your thoughts on the end of Twist?
Womp womp. I love Twist. I love the idea of Twist. But it's like, I was thinking about it. It's like that person you were dating forever ago, and you have this idea in your head of like how great that was, and then they ghosted you. um yeah, I think they could have just done so much more with Twist, and it was really frustrating for it to just be sitting there not getting any support. Maybe it should have never been a ranked mode to begin with. I think is kind of like my opinion was it. Like we had duels before that, okay? And duels had 2 modes. Duels had a casual mode where you could just do whatever you wanted to, but then also had an MMR mode. And the MMR was just the same as Battlegrounds, right? Like you could have a MMR of 1,000. You could have an MMR of 10,000 in duels, right? And I always thought Twist could have had the same thing. Like sure, you want to like have it as a tavern brawl kind of thing. Like you just want to go in and splash around with your dual class um mechanism for a month. Go in, have that fun casual. At the time, they weren't even introducing new tavern brawls, right? They were just rehashing some old ones that were kind of like stale, and you'd go in and you get your pack and you wouldn't think anything of it. But right? Like in my opinion, you could have had you could have had a casual and you could have had an MMR. And if you didn't have to support a ladder system, how much different is that than having a tavern brawl with a number on it? And I would have been so much more compelled to play that. I like having a number, even though it doesn't mean anything, right? I would have been like, yeah, I'm really good at this, this ever-changing format, stuff like that. So I feel like, somebody put all this love into Twist. They even put some monetization into Twist, and they left, and it just sat on the shelf. And there's a whole lot of half-assed efforts, excuse my language, to like recycle a bunch of formats, and they're like, oh, I guess no one's playing it. And it's like, okay, you basically gave us classic mode. You've tried it 4 times. Nobody picked it up because it was essentially classic. Yeah, nobody cared about it. And they did come out with a really cool format, Whizbang's Heroes, that put a whole bunch of effort into balancing it. They put a lot of effort into making these decks, and we got 2 months of it. Um, you know, I would have maintained Whizbang's Heroes for them. It was not that hard. They had all the decks. You don't have to keep balance like updated with standard. And you can fiddle the numbers to be like, okay, Arthas is way overpowered. Give him like 2 less health, right? Like there's some balancing there, but it was pretty well settled when they left, and there's a lot of cool space to do things. With Whizbang's Heroes, like it was all about the hero power. Like you got to do essentially an imbue hunter slash attack druid in Crush, and that was a really fun. That was a really fun mechanism to do. You got a big beast and hit him in the head, but that was like you get beaten by Marin, who would cost like 1,000,000 coins in the same game. So the games are really dynamic. So I'll miss Twist. I think it's a shame that after all that time they're like, well, we didn't see the community really responding to it, and it's like you literally didn't have an update for 2 years. So I am fingers crossed, coping beyond copium, that this is opening up space for another format when they do the big fat reveal at BlizzCon this fall. I want a modern format in Hearthstone so bad. Start at Sunken Plus, and or something. Maybe I think people would love to have like Skullomance Plus, but then you have to deal with like, what do we do with all like the Stormwind cards? Right, or like give us the last 4 years, something like that. Like I want something between standard and wild, because even though I enjoy wild, I kind of I don't know. I just really miss some of the cards that we had recently. I'd love to keep playing with them, because you can't take those cards that we were playing with and bring them to wilds. But they don't compete there when you're dead on turn 5 to Quasar Rogue or Shadow Priest or any other pirate deck, or you still can't play with those cards that were really cool. So anyway, Twist I think was just kind of mismanaged, and it's a real shame, and they should have gotten, if they didn't want to do it, they should have gotten it out of the clients a long time ago without just teasing us with it being in there.
That's fair. Well, if you'd like to support our show, you can do so by joining our Patreon over at patreon.com/breadandbutterhs. And you can be much like our patron of the month, Torby Funderson. You can get raw audio early. You can get access to members' channels on Discord. You can help shape future questions. And if you'd like to help us in a non-financial way, you just let people know about the show. Let us know how we're doing, and maybe give us a 5-star review. It really helps. Or you can give us an Apple review and tell us how we're doing. If we actually see those, we'll read them on the show. And obviously, please look for Bread and Butter HS on YouTube. We just put a bunch of clips from the McBannerface episode, which was fantastic. So, yeah. WorldEight, if people are looking for you out there on the internet, where can people find you?
The best place to find me is on Discord, WorldEight, it's just spelled out. And you can also find me streaming occasionally on Twitch, WorldEight_HS. But I mostly hang out in other Twitch streamers' chats and you'll probably find me there. But I'm not too active on social otherwise.
And Pilot, where can people find you?
You can find me Pilot712, Pylet, on Twitter and Blue Sky, as well as Discord.
And you can find me at Tito Santana HS on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, and other places, especially YouTube. WorldEight, you think you'd like to promote or shout out this week?
Well, I'd love to promote the Vicious Syndicate podcast, but we haven't run it in almost 3 months now. So hopefully we'll get that back online soon. And I'll be back out promoting it. But just a shout out to all the mothers out there, all the moms. If you have a good relationship with your mom, make sure to talk to her, call to her. Not just on Mother's Day, which is coming up, but I think they like hearing from their kids, even if they're grown old men. It's tough being a parent, and just hearing from their kids, I'm sure would mean a lot to the moms out there.
WorldEight says call your mom, but also don't forget your wife. Pilot, do you get anything you'd like to shout out or promote this week?
I think the only thing I have is shout out to my younger sister. She graduated college this weekend, so going into elementary education and intervention.
Pilot sister, avid fan of the show. And I would like to shout out the community team for Hearthstone, which they have a very, very thankless job. They have to put in a lot of work. And either they have the people that they like that are still asking for lots of things and demanding lots of things. And then you always have to deal with the people that are less than enthusiastic or problematic. and that is a very tough job. So shout out there. And also shout out to the folks at Snap Second Dinner, who there were layoffs this week, and that's really tough. And you never want to see anybody lose their job, so really hoping they land on their feet. And final things, over the last couple of weeks, I've relaunched my second podcast, Talking Hearthstone, which is a solo podcast, which is basically my attempts to get my ranting out before I get onto the Bread and Butter podcast, but it doesn't always work. But basically, it's in the kind of the same kind of idea of what Walk to Work is and what Off Curve was, where it's just basically a solo mic where I'm just talking about whatever the heck I feel like talking about. And, you're looking for a little extra content since the Vicious Syndicate podcast is on hiatus. Hope you give it a chance. Maybe you like it. It's definitely not going to be as data driven. I promise you that. But anyway, guys, I think we're toast. We'll see you.
See ya.
All right. See ya.
All right. So one thing about Twist I disagree with you on, WorldEight, even though I agree with you, is I don't think they could have afforded to split the mode up to a ladder and a casual, because you couldn't even get a game when they only had one mode. And if you were in queue forever, if you split that into two modes, I don't think you'd ever get a game. Or two.
Well, you couldn't get a game on ladder because it was trying to match you by MMR.
Yeah.
Right. So if you were it was not bad to get a game when you're in silver, right? But it was impossible to get a game when you were close to in diamond.
I don't know, even in silver and gold, I was still waiting 3 to 5 minutes for a game.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, or don't have a casual mode. Just have MMR or battlegrounds. There's no casual battlegrounds. Just stick a number on it. I don't care. I don't know. I'm really hoping. I mean, they're pretty clearly gonna announce another class at BlizzCon, and they said they had some other big fat announcement on top of that. So
tournament mode. Here we come.
Yeah, it's gonna either be tournament mode or modern. I think it's more likely to be tournament mode though, because they make a lot of money off of the brawl, those heroic brawls. That's a good money maker. Seems like a win, an easy win.
Yeah,
just
I don't understand. I don't understand how they haven't figured out a way to be hey, you buy in 5 packs, you build a deck with those 5 packs, go, or whatever it might be, whatever the number is, or whatever like that. And you keep the packs, and you have a chance to win more things. And hey, priests, monks.
Do you know how many cards are in 5 packs? There's nothing in 5 packs in Hearthstone. This is not Magic.
But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Like here,
you can't even make a full deck with 5 packs in a Hearthstone.
You know what I mean. Or maybe you have special packs that are like 5 packs of 10 that are specifically for that format. You keep all of them, and then you have to build a deck, regardless of what class cards you have. It's like you play. There's no hero powers. You just play with your deck. I don't know. You can figure something out. If only they had a mode where they could try these things out and see how they like people.
Yeah,
like them and play
them. I know.
Well, yeah, Hip, but that would mean that you don't have any options on picking and choosing the cards that you want. You would need to have more than that, or you would need to have a 20 card deck or something. But yeah, it'd be fun to just kind of like mix things up and have some sort of like something different than Arena that was more like a draft.
Yeah, really cool? I mean, what you're talking about is more like sealed.
Sure, yeah, sealed
draft. Yeah.
Well, sealed. I like the sealed where it was like you used to like you open a pack, you pick your card, you pass your deck to the rest of the pack to the right.
Well, that's a normal draft.
Yeah, that's draft.
Yeah, I like that.
That's normal draft. Yeah,
like
that's what's weird about like the Hearthstone draft is like there's no interaction where the best cards are getting picked out of the pack, right? Like in the Magic booster draft, that's your struggle is like you're gonna see the same pack again, but if there's a second best card, you might not see it again, or there's a dynamic where like, oh, I'm gonna be like, I see like 1 or 2 good green cards, well then all of a sudden the person to my left starts drafting green, and I'm starved for these cards. Green is typically a very mediocre draft color, but it doesn't really matter. There's definitely more dynamics than just like, oh, I got all the good picks off of Arena. And I think that's something that's like not too talked about enough is like people selling their good Arena picks too. You guys know about that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's a weird thing. I don't think Blizzard can do anything about it, but they're also not incentivized to do anything about it.
Yep.
So.
All right. Well, I am tired. I'm gonna wrap up a little early and head to bed.
All right. Yeah, I'm tired too. I had a long day.
Yeah.
I was up at 5:15.
Did you fly home?
What?
I always
no. I had a 10-mile run this morning, dude.
Yeah, but
did you miss that part of the podcast?
No, I got.
He doesn't listen very well. We've established this.
I do that, but I didn't realize you were
we were running at 7:00 in the morning. You had to be at your corral at 6:30.
No. I thought you were further west. I thought you lived further west than Philly.
No, I'm in Philly.
All right, because for some reason
I live in New Jersey, right? And so like to get to Philadelphia, I have to like go across a bridge, but it's not like
okay.
Yeah.
No, but I thought you were more towards the central region, so that's why I'm thinking like, did you fly? Like you're in Philly? What?
No, I just had to get up really early to run.
I feel that. We performed. We were the first group yesterday for our band thing, so the report time for the kids was 5:15 in the morning.
WorldEight. Someone in chat wants to know if you're still playing. If you're still playing Egglock.
Yes.
Confirmed.
Yeah. I should be playing more Token Druid though. Token Druid's looking really good. But I'll probably pivot to like Quest Druid and then be like, oh, this is bad. I think
I was curious how the new dormant card if that would help Quest.
Well, I think the location helps almost more than the new dormant card. Because you could like use the location on like a Twilight Egg. I mean, I guess that's not great, but like, you could use it on something that you want to die anyway, right? Like similar to like Hatchery Helper effect. Like you put that on your long neck egg, right? Like or I don't know. It's 4 stats for 2 mana, 2 relevant keyword or 2 keywords, but it's a board slot. That's kind of the most important thing there.
Yes.
Because if you get that weapon down, like holy cow, if you get that weapon down before Wicker Fang comes down, that's insane, right? Like you've got the weapon loaded, and then Wicker Fang comes down, and it's like 1 billion stats. It's so much. So
yeah. You could also add, and you add the what's the 2 mana spell on top of it?
No, you don't need that. They just die. They just explode. If you get Wicker Fang down with the weapon, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. The weapon's so insane. That weapon has like 1 billion charges too.
Yes.
Where is it? It's like a 5 charges. I think
5. It's a 2/5 weapon that gives +2/+2 with every swing.
When it was revealed, I thought it was gonna be absolutely busted. But the problem is that the first of all, I think all the decks were like being built really weird. Second of all, you don't have to play quest on 1. Don't play quest on 1. You play quest on turn 4, like leading up into your flipper friends or whatever. Like you can have good tempo up until it.
Yep.
And then like on turn 4, like what's 1 mana? It's not as big of a deal as missing your 1 drop or whatever. So yeah, we'll see. That's the only thing that I'm like potentially on is oh, by the way, Tito, Unholy Death Knight looks really, really good, except dodge Demon Hunter. Like Demon Hunter's a terrible matchup, but like otherwise it's green. Like the matchups are green.
Actually, believe it or not, I've done fairly good against Demon Hunter. I believe it's been the ones I've had hard times with is the Herald Death Knight and sometimes the Priest, but like Shaman has been kind of 50-50 as well.
Oh yeah, I can see it with Shaman, but mostly Infestation I think kind of owns any of the board-based decks. Like that's why it's tough for Token Druid too. Like 1 Infestation kind of clears it, or like if things get out of control, they just Wyvern Slumber.
Yep.
They've got like incidental clears that they don't even mean to run; they just happen to have. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, oh yeah, like we happen to like be really good against you.
Oops. I've seen more Wyvern Slumbers from Mage and Rogue though lately.
Oh jeez, yeah. Don't even get me started on Mage. Yeah. So okay, so
he's getting
on my descent. Okay, here's some of the things I saw was a turn 7 Medivh, followed by turn 8 Medivh. Same game. Turn 4 Wicker Fang. The next game, turn 4 Wicker Fang. The next game, turn 5 Wicker Fang. It was all back to back to back there, and I actually won one of those, but it was just like, come on.
Pilot was picking
eternal
between 2 decks.
BS, you know.
Pilot was picking between 2 decks. Like, oh, should I ban Warrior or Druid? And my comment to him was, well, you do not want to get tilted off the face of the earth by Wicker Fang again, so I would probably ban Druid.
Yeah, that was the day after I faced turn 4 Wicker Fang into turn 5 and turn 6 Moss Binding.
Yeah. I think
I can survive the Wicker Fang, and then bang, 7/8.
Yeah. And the other one, and I'm so sick of 6 mana Sludge Zills. But what really got me, because I play so much on my phone when I'm doing stuff around the house, like that, I almost like never get this upset. Is I was at 8 health against an Oradin. They just happened to like be off their last Gelbin turn. They have no minions on board. All they have is a Sand Fury Aura up. I have 3 20/20s in play. I have 8 life. How do you think they won that game? Because they won that game the next turn. The little riddle for here. Nothing unusual about their deck list.
I think I know what it is because I think
they had 10 mana available. That's the hint. They had 10 mana available.
Yep.
You know what happened, Pilot?
I do.
Okay, tell Tito because it's gross.
Bulwark, the deal 2 into both weapons. So it triggered it?
No. They had no cards in hand.
Oh, none in hand. I missed that part.
Hand, nothing on the board. 1 Sand Fury up. That's it. I had 8 life. They have 10 mana. I'm dead.
How much
One
life did
card
you
off
have?
the top. I had 8.
Oh, off the top.
Off the top, I drew
Oh,
1 card, and then I was dead that turn. And
I know what
6.
it is now.
Yeah, what happened?
Living Flames, or whatever the 7 mana spell is.
No, they don't run that.
Oh, so I've run into it a couple times.
No, this was
I've
not
seen
it.
a lot more and more.
Okay, well that was not it.
What was it?
Oh,
Xavius into the what's the 6 mana guy?
oh,
Again.
so that's
It
like
was
it's
a
a double
copy.
bulwark somehow.
Double bulwark
like-
through the Xavius. I almost threw my phone across the room. I was like, what in the world was this game?
I'm like, oh, it's a double triggered, that, but
Yeah, you couldn't even do a double. Yeah, even like a double time waste would have worked. It had to be specifically that.
Yep.
It was just like so many games like that, or like the turn 6 Scenarius was kind of gross too.
Yeah, that'll do it.
I actually won that game. Tentacles. Tentacles is a gross card too.
Yep.
But anyway, all right. I'll take it easy, guys. Glad to be on.
Yes.
Let me know about the fight night, Tito.
Yep.
Just give me,
I'm still working it out.
Yeah, give me like a bit of a heads up on that. And my availability is generally Sunday nights.
It would
But I
not
don't
probably
know.
be Sunday night because that would be a bread and butter night, but we'll figure it out.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, you gotta let me know then. If it's another night. If it's like past 9 p.m. Eastern, I could probably float most nights.
Okay.
But
yeah, that's probably what we'll do anyway.
I mean, like, but it's usually like I gotta put the boys to bed, right? And then I'm available.
All right, sounds good. We'll figure it out. Me and Pilot's gonna probably work with me on it. We'll come out with as long as Pilot's not too busy doing band stuff, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, my schedule's all over the place. 6 more performances left.
Maybe I'll do
2
it
this week.
I'll do it with a rotating cast of people. We'll figure it out.
All right. Take